Welcome back to the Right Boundless podcast with me, Robert Valderrama. I would like to take this moment to give a shout out to all our new listeners and to all our current listeners. Thank you for being a part of this. Make sure to subscribe, like, and go to the Instagram and follow us at Right Boundless. On today's episode, our guest is, you've seen him in Aquaman, you've seen him in Sons of Anarchy, you've seen him in Hellride with Quentin Tarantino, and you've seen him in many, many, many other places from Soul Food and ER. I mean, the list goes on. My dear good friend, Michael Beach. Here we go. Michael, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great.
It's been a minute. How you dealing with this whole coronavirus?
Well, it's getting a little monotonous right now. When you have four children and you're pretty much stuck in the house, they kids need to get out. They need to go see their friends, and they need to, run off all that energy. And although I have a pretty good sized backyard, it doesn't, after a month, it doesn't really, it doesn't equate with being able to go out and gymnastics class and dance and see all the other friends. So it's getting tiresome, but
No,
we're doing well though.
no, that's good to hear. Does it help having multiple children? Do they entertain each other or do they just fight?
Mostly fight. Yeah,
Mostly fight.
they mostly argue about who gets to do what first, or who said this, or who did that, or who pushed who, or you know. So it's mostly that.
Are you
So
are you guys the kind of parents that try and avoid TV, or you just have them hook whatever whenever they want?
well, yeah. Normally, if we were in regular times and they were going to school, they would only be able to watch TV on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Friday night. But now we have them, and my wife does most of this because she's an educator. But they do the work that is sent to us, and then later on they can watch TV during after they do their work on Monday through Friday. And some days we just go, yeah, no TV today. No TV today. Go outside,
Yeah, makes
go
sense.
ride your bike, stuff like that.
I mean, that's definitely a benefit of having a bigger backyard and having that freedom. It's difficult for many people in Los Angeles to get that.
Right, right.
And that's why this whole parks being closed and, hiking trails, all these classes. I mean, it's a huge inconvenience. Do you believe what they're saying about the coronavirus? Or you know what? It's so confusing right now. What do you believe of the coronavirus and what they're saying?
That's a great question. I'm confused, like most people. I don't know what the truth is exactly. Um, and because of that, you err on the side of caution. Especially since you have kids. I think if it were just me, it would be different. However, I'd still be concerned that if I'm asymptomatic, I might pass it on to someone else. So I'm 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 torn because you go, well, it's a virus, and we have thousands and thousands of viruses uh, that we don't know about. That our body is literally built to to
Immune.
defeat.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So um, it's confusing, and I don't know the answers like most people. And so for the time being, you go, okay, it makes sense to isolate, and therefore nobody, not nobody, but we can curtail the spread of it. But at some point, we can't keep doing this. So at some point, and we're not gonna get a vaccine before we have to do something about it. So I don't know. It's it's
It's difficult.
especially for what I do. It's gonna be interesting because you know I don't know. It's a quandary for sure.
No, and what you're saying is nobody knows and nobody does know. And it seems like every day we turn on the TV or listen to something, it changes. How do you
Right.
think, what's your thought on how it's going to change the future? You think we'll be able to get back to normal within 6, 7 months, or do you think we're creatures of habit and now everybody's going to want to be distant? I mean, what's kind of your thought process of what from
I
what you're
think.
hearing?
Well, I think eventually things are going to go back to normal because that's just how people are. I mean, there's no way I'm not going to, hug my friends and shake hands to, you know, people I just meet. There's just no way. I'm not going to be able to live that way. And I don't think most people will either. The question is, how long will that take? I imagine for a little while where we're not going to be shaking hands or hugging people, but the way we are, the way society is, it's impossible to walk around trying to be germ free. It's impossible.
Yeah, it's very difficult. I mean, some people have done it, but it's really awkward. And I know they don't care that it's awkward or not, but as humans, we're very affectionate, and not having
Right.
that is going to be almost impossible, especially children in schools and
Of course.
new
Absolutely.
couples. And I mean, we're humans. That's what we do. We're,
Right. Well, that's why children. I mean, that's why flu season, it spreads through schools because
everybody gets
you're going
sick.
to tell kids, hey, just make sure that no, that'll never happen.
Yeah, that
And
you don't touch anything or don't touch any toy that anybody else has touched before.
right,
That's just
right.
craziness. Yeah.
Make sure you spray down the da 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 after you touch it each time. No, it's not going to happen. So eventually things will subside and we'll get back to some. Maybe there'll be slight differences, but in general, it's gonna go back to the way it was. That's my opinion.
Yeah, it has to, and like what you were saying, our bodies get immune, so
Right.
we need to touch stuff, we need to get dirty, we need to touch germs, so our bodies can learn how to process it, and we could develop an immune system to fight
That's right.
other ones.
Yeah.
So that's normal.
Yeah.
Mike, last time we used to ride and hang out, you had the Softail, right?
Mhm.
With what,
Yep.
16-inch, 18-inch apes on it.
There's 16s. Yeah. Yeah.
16, and then you had the Ultra, right? It
I
was
had
a
an Ultra. Yeah.
2008.
I've had a couple of Ultras, so I can't really. I had an 8, and I think I had a 6. I can't remember. I think I had yeah. The 6 was, yeah, because the 6 is the one I took to Sturgis in '08, and then I think I might have had I bought an 8 after that because I loved the ride so much all the way to Sturgis. Oh my
Yeah, because
God.
the 8 was, I believe it was the first year they added the ABS, and then I think '09 is when they changed the frame.
Right, and the tire. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and the
I think
wider
you're right.
tires and
So
everything
maybe I
else.
might have had a 9 then. I might have had a 9.
Yeah, actually
Yeah,
you might have had a 9. I think you're right.
yeah,
Yeah, because you did have the wider tire, the ABS, and the new frame. What are you riding
that's right.
nowadays? You still got the same bikes, or what are you riding today?
No, I still have this. I still have the Softail. It's an '08 Softail, and I love it because it's the Carlini apes, but also the paint job.
Yeah, this
My paint was so awesome. It was done by Hot Dog, who used
yeah,
to
West Coast
do all
choppers.
of right, exactly. So I still have that. I don't really ride it much, but I also have a police diner, 2003 anniversary. I
Very
mean,
nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
2003. And I bought that from some guy in Chicago, had it in his garage for years and years, and did nothing to it. And I think it had I mean, literally, it had less than 1,000 miles on it. So
Jeez.
I had them ship that out, had it all cleaned out and everything, and I did some of my own shit to it, and I have that, and I love that bike. And I also have a 2017 Street Glide CVO.
Very nice.
Yeah, and I love that. That's probably my favorite bike.
That's the
And
one. What motor does that have?
that's the 114.
Very
Oh
nice.
wow, nice.
Yeah, yeah. And I also have a friend of mine was kind of on some hard times, so he had a Sportster that he hadn't ridden, and he was trying to get some cash for it, and I bought it for him, from him, and I did a couple of little things to it, and I rode it a few times, and I dig it. It's an '08, but it eventually it just feels like a scooter, to me. I've never had a Sportster, and I took it out. It was kind of like fun for a minute, and I really don't. I think I'm going to sell it because I really don't have any.
What year is that Sportster?
We'll help
It's
you
an
sell
08.
it. 08? 1200 or 883?
1200. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. And then to talk about your Softail, it's baby blue with a lot of metal flaking, right?
Right. I mean, it
pops.
It's got hundreds of blues. You know, the shades are just, the range is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, Hot Dog did amazing jobs. I remember that.
He really did, man. I was like, I mean, that's why it's still in my garage, man, because the metal, the paint is so beautiful,
Yeah, it's a very sexy bike. Mike, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but you're straight out a biker. When did you get on your first bike, and when did you realize like this is, I want to continue riding bikes?
Yeah, and was it because you're originally from Massachusetts, right? And
right.
Was it in the East Coast when you started, or the West Coast?
Well, street bikes started in LA, but I used to do messed up dirt bike riding in Massachusetts. My cousin had my cousin's father, so my uncle had a little land in the backyard, and he would help build these little dirt bike type things, like a cross between a dirt bike and a mini bike, but obviously a lot more dirt bikey, because we would go in the back and we'd just ride through the woods, what we called woods, and do little jumps here and there. And so I did that as a young teenager for a little while, and then I went away to school, and
what school?
That was done. I went to a prep school in Massachusetts to play football. A school called Noble and Greeno in Dedham, Massachusetts. And so when I went there, I pretty much started boarding there and living there, and so a lot of my contacts back in the Roxbury area were cut off.
Right, and I'm sure because you're trying to do football, were people encouraging you not to ride motorcycles, or it just had nothing to do with it? You just didn't have time for it.
Well, yeah, I mean, they didn't even know really. It was kind of it was kind of simply like a location thing because of where I live now, and because of the fact that I didn't have regular contact with my cousins. Then it kind of just died. It kind of went away.
Right, because of the influence around you wasn't there.
Right, and I had so much more to focus on because, football practice all the time, and then the academics had to kick in, and it was much more prevalent than I was used to in terms of academics. So I was pretty busy from the age of 14 up.
Yeah, you were being challenged by school. When did you get back on?
I didn't get back on until I moved to, God, it was probably 86, I guess. So I stopped around 78, 79, and started up again on street bikes in '86, I think it was, here in LA. And the reason I did it was because I had my my wife and I. Well, when I first came out here, I started coming out here doing movies. I was sent out from New York because I trained in New York. I spent a couple of years in New York, and then I was sent out to LA to do a film. And while I was here working on a film, I had a couple of auditions and got a couple more films. So I basically stayed out here longer than I expected. But I had my one car and I was good. But my wife and my son were back in New York. So when we decided to move here to LA, they came. We had the one car, so obviously they had the car. So I was like, well, how the hell am I going to get around? And I don't have enough money to buy another car. So I went looking for motorcycles. And my first bike was a Kawasaki 454 LTD. And
Nice.
I think I bought it for like $3,500, brand new.
In what year?
86.
86.
Yeah. And
that's still a
Excuse me.
decent amount of money.
It's probably actually right now somebody's buying from the same year, the same model for exactly the same amount of
price.
money.
really?
Yeah, because all bikes right now are being so hot with people doing custom projects and stuff like that.
Right. Well, of course it was it was a Harley ripoff type thing. It was
Yeah.
like a cruiser. But at 80, I was at top speed, but I've just rode that bike everywhere, and I would get jobs that were shooting, an hour north of LA, and I'd take it up there, and I'd get off at like 4 a.m. or something, and I'm riding back down the 405, freezing my ass off. I mean, because it was, up there near Pier Blossom or something. I'm doing the films and Pier Blossom Highway or whatever it's called, and man, it was fucking cold. But I just rode the hell out of that thing for years. Even when I bought another car, when I was able to buy another car, I still kept that bike. And I rode that for a few years, and then at the same time, I think I got a Heritage. I think it was a '88. Can't remember. But that was my second bike here, and then I would ride that bike down to I was working out at Gold's Venice at Gold's Gym. And I'd ride that thing down there thinking I was a badass.
Hell yeah.
Go work out, get on my bike, go to the firehouse and eat some food there, and then, head on back to where I was.
You were living it up.
It was a good time. Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, come on, riding to Gold's Gym, getting that workout, get that pump, jump on your bike. That's the life.
Yep.
I mean, in the 80s, come on, that's what the world was looking at. Venice.
There is a guy actually in the
That's
Gold's
right.
Gym in Venice that is still in the 80s. He shows up with his Sportster with a sidecar, and he goes there to work out every single day. You can see that bike at the garage every day.
Yeah, there's some crazy characters at Venice right now. How much?
And the bikes were heavier then. I mean, obviously much heavier than from what I remember. It was just
the way it was balanced, probably.
Yeah.
I guess they were more top heavy. I don't know. I guess top heavy.
I think so. I think they were. Yeah.
And from there, that you switched over, and that's what you stuck to.
Yeah, pretty much. I had a Ninja in, I think, whatever first year they came out, 92, 94. I can't remember what year it was, but I bought a Ninja 600. And I rode that sucker a few times, especially like going down La Cienega towards towards the airport. There's this long stretch, and I would top that bad boy out and just to dangerous, because I love to ride, but I've never been like a speed demon. And I think that's the reason I sold that bike was because it just those bikes just make you want to go fast, and I did have fun for a little while, but I was like, yeah, it's time to get rid of this bad boy. So
I mean,
I think I had it for about a year.
It's absolutely one of the reasons I avoid street bikes because, I've taken street bikes on the track and that's as far as I'll go. But I
Right.
know riding I'm riding, a Street Glide or the GS or any even touring bike. I'll get to 100 miles and go from here to
Right.
Palm Springs. On
Yeah.
a street bike, you want to do, 140, 150, and it's just,
Absolutely.
it feels too comfortable. Some people are like, why would you do that? And it's like, because, it's between my legs. It's
And
when
you
you
feel like you're going 80 in a bike.
and that bike's handling it, the technology, talking, about older bikes and newer bikes, the technology's there. But yes, any little screw up, anything in the road, any jerk comes in your
bro.
lane, any rock,
That's it.
so that's why I avoid those as much as possible. And as a matter of fact,
I mean, look, I went down because of a rock on a Harley, and I was only doing about 55.
when was this? Did I know you then? Was this before or after?
Probably about 6 years ago.
Oh, so it was after.
Yeah, about 6 years ago. On the
Ultra?
On the Dyna. On the Dyna I have.
And the police one?
The police Dyna. Yeah,
nice.
yeah. Fucked it up, man, and I got
to fix it at least.
Yeah. It took me a while to find the bags because that bike is, that's hard to find those things because they only made them. I think they only made them for 03 and 04.
Yeah, they sell and they sell for a lot of money on eBay.
Yeah. I got a hell of a deal for it. So
how much?
I love the bike. I got it for $7,000 at with, I think it had 800 miles on it.
That's amazing because the bags at one point were selling for over $2,000. Just bags.
I know, bro. I had to buy a new pair because mine got fucked up, and I think I ended up. I think I paid like $1,400 for the bags.
Yeah,
they were expensive. Yeah.
So
and they weren't even brand new.
Right. No, you can't even
use them. Yeah,
right.
You can't even get them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, those bags in the FX DXT, the original ones back in the days before the aftermarket company started making a bunch, they were very, very expensive. But now you can get anything aftermarket. It was a conversation I was having with Matt Laidlaw that there was a time where, Harley was the only one making limited parts. Now everybody's making parts for just about anything and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Which is good, but sometimes you don't get the same quality, and other times you actually get better quality. Because there was a moment where like custom chrome was making better chrome than Harley was at a certain point, but not anymore.
True.
So I have a question, Mike. When was the last? Because we have a couple of members on the crew that are actors. When was the first movie that you realized that this was going to happen? And that you were going to be able to, live your dream, basically?
For me, I don't know. It happened pretty fast. I mean, I'm really fortunate because I've never. After I went to college and I trained at college, my first job as an actor, it was I started 2 weeks after I graduated college, and I've never had another job outside of acting since then. So I've never had to do outside things to make money. I've always supported myself as an actor. So and not to say that I haven't struggled at different times, but I was always able to pay the bills from acting.
Sustain.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that there's more?
35 years now.
Do you think there's more competition now than when you started, though?
I don't know. I mean, that's hard to say because our competitions change. I don't go up against 20-year-olds or 30-year-olds or I mean we
No,
will never
I
be
know, but I
seen.
mean for somebody that just finishes their training and that
I don't know. That's why it's hard for me
yeah,
to tell because it's not something that affects me personally. So I don't think that I would say there isn't um, because there's also so many more avenues for jobs.
true, yeah.
Because we have all these new studios and streaming services and blah 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 and TV shows. When I started out, we only had I think we only had 3 networks. We might have had Fox. Well, so we had 4 networks. Um, and it's a completely different world now.
No,
So
I know nothing about acting. I've never looked into it, but I would say from what I've seen and all the people that I do know, I think it was way harder before than now. You can, like you said, there's so many platforms today that you can as a matter of fact, you can create your own platform, like
that's
like the
right.
Right
That's
Boundless
right.
podcast.
That's right. It was when I started out, Spike Lee started, and Spike Lee. Obviously, there were people before, Oscar Michaud. There were a lot of people, but not a lot of people, but people at different points that did their own thing. But they were still outliers, and it was still difficult, and you still had to use film, and so it was more expensive. Today's world, you can do this stuff for, I mean, you can do it for next to nothing if you have the know-how and if you have people available that will help you. You can do stuff that looks pretty good, and you have platforms that will be happy to put them on. Whether or not you make great money, I don't know. But however, if those things start making noise, that's not gonna be the thing that will make you money, but that will be the thing that gets you the attention that leads to the thing that gets you money.
Right, and the exposure.
Right. That's what I mean. Yeah, the attention,
Yeah.
exposure, the contacts, all of that stuff.
So what was your first role where you had to ride on the role?
Where I had to ride?
Where you had to
Yes.
ride a motorcycle.
Oh shoot. I think the first time I rode in a show on film was a pilot I did. I don't know what year it was. It was probably in the late 80s, maybe early 90s, probably the early 90s. A director that used to be very big. His name is Rennie Harlan, and he was married to Gina Davis at the time. And I think he did. I don't know if Rennie did the original Die Hard or the second Die Hard. He did one of those, but he did a couple of big action films. So I got a pilot, a TV pilot, and it was believe it or not, it was called Knight Rider 2000.
Nice.
And
Back in 88.
I think we shot it in 91 or 92. I can't remember. And so it was basically like the apocalyptic time, and the Knight Rider was played by, I can't remember the actor's name, but I played his brother, and he was a white guy, and I played his brother somehow, and I was a sheriff of this wasteland, and he had the new kit, whatever that was, but it was kind of like a retro, kind of kit, and then I had a motorcycle, and
Do you,
I had to
do you
ride
remember
the
what
bike.
it was or no?
It was definitely, you know what? I don't remember what kind of bike it was. It was a Harley. I just can't remember what kind of bike.
But it was all probably custom out, trying to look like the future.
Yeah, it was custom bow. It was pretty cool. Yeah, I can't remember what bike it was, but that was the first time probably I think on film, and I think it's pretty rare. I did a film called Hell Ride.
Well, that was with
Um,
what was that? A collaboration, or Quentin Tarantino had some part in that,
yeah,
right?
Quentin kind of produced it. The guy that wrote it and directed it and starred in it. And God forgive me, I can't remember his name either. But he used to do. Um, his father's was Joey Bishop, one of the Rat Pack with Frank Sinatra and Sammy
Sammy Davis
Davis and all of
Jr.,
them. Yeah,
Dean Martin.
right. So his father was Joey Bishop. So his name was something Bishop, and he had done a bunch of biker films in the '70s. And then he kind of, I don't know what he did since then. But Quentin, who is obviously like a nut for old films and genre type films, wanted him. He put him in a couple of his films. I think he had a pretty cool part in Kill Bill 2, I think it was. And so Quentin was like, "Look, you got to do another biker film. So you write it, you direct it, blah blah blah." So he did, and he starred in it. And of course, he was a little older,
Right.
but he had all the women loved him, and we had God, who was Michael Madsen was
Michael
in it, and
Madsen.
David Carradine, like pretty soon before he died, maybe a couple of years, a year or
A
so.
few years before he passed.
Yeah, and we had Dennis Hopper. Yeah, it was kind of a cool concept, and
It was a good cast.
it was a good cast, and the script was but I was like, listen, I can combine these two things. I can act and I can ride. I'm always looking for that. It's rare today. You don't have a lot of biker films or films where guys are on bikes if it's not Tom Cruise on a bike or something. um, so we did that, and it was great because I got to get all hairy. I didn't have to shave, just because it was like a dirty biker movie. It wasn't pretty,
Yeah, rugged.
you
It was
know.
a very,
Yeah, it was
very
rugged.
rugged.
Yeah, it was throwback to it's like, yeah, this is a biker life. These guys they don't they live off the grid. They're basically the one percenters, the real one percenters life, and which is obviously is totally not my life, but very fun to play. And we had a lot of fun. Unfortunately, the the movie didn't turn out to be that great, but I think Quentin came in and he did his edit, because he wasn't that happy. He did an edit, and um, we put it out, and it was what it was. But I had a great time working on it. And again, like anytime I get a chance to do both things, I will.
Absolutely. Did that lead to, was the next thing after that Sons of Anarchy?
No, I think there was a long time in between. I don't even know when. Man, I don't remember.
Because,
It's hard for me to pinpoint when I did things. So
yeah, because
I think Sons was over about 7 years ago, or has it been that long? I don't know.
I think Sons of Anarchy, because I was still, we were still writing, and I was still at Van Nuys when Sons of Anarchy just started, and
Right.
we had sold quite a few motorcycles. I mean, there was a collaboration of dealerships that worked to get the bikes there, but
Right.
that had to be starting 2008, 2009.
Well,
Well,
the thing is, you started, Michael. I think you
I
started.
came in season
yeah,
3.
season 3, right?
So
Yeah,
we're talking
yeah.
about 2012 is kind of what I was trying to pinpoint. So then it probably was Hellride, motorcycle films that you got to do, and then Sons of Anarchy, or
Yeah. So I mean, I think that's probably true. I mean, I think and shoot, that's like 20 years or something. I think um, that was it. And I don't think I've done another thing where I was on a bike since Sons.
So
Oh,
Since
I
then,
did an indie with a friend of mine, and I never got to ride. But he's like, "Oh, can we use one of your bikes? And you can that can be your mode of transportation." And that's great. And if we can, get me riding, that'd be great. But we never did. We just saw me getting off the bike and having a conversation with somebody. But outside of that, that's been it.
how much real writing was there on Sons of Anarchy? I mean, obviously it's a film. Obviously they want to keep everybody safe, but how many scenes were real rides versus uh, the training wheels and the stuff that we see online? And who knows how to
Well,
ride and who doesn't?
yeah. I think there was never any like training, like, oh, let's tow this bike. I don't think, I don't think they would have, that doesn't sell the show. You have to see the guys ride. I thought there would be much more riding, to be honest with you. But when you did see riding, we were riding. We would go up to Griffith Park a lot, and obviously out to the canyons, up the, what we call it, down in right off up the up to 14, stuff like that, where we shot a lot. And we would ride, yeah, we would, but you have to, because the camera's filming you, you have to stay in position, and you can't really let it out. You gotta stay in the form so that they can pick you up, and okay, we want to get you, and then we want to cross over and make sure we have, Charlie or whomever. So it was, we were riding, but it was subdued. And then, of course, you had a lot of stuff where we would ride up to something, ride into a scene or ride out of a scene. Um, and those times were fun, because you were still, it was sometimes we had to change locations. So a lot of times you would just get in a van and they would take you, and then they would ship the bikes up. They would, trailer the bikes. But a lot of times we go, oh, then I just want to ride, So a bunch of us would get on the bikes and we'd ride to the new location, 20 miles away or something,
So
through the
everybody
thick
was
of traffic too.
yeah.
You
So
know.
everybody was a rider on the show. Would you say?
Well, everybody, I think the main people became riders. There were a bunch of the people, some of the regulars who didn't ride before the show, but then they started riding, and became enthusiasts. I
Yeah.
don't think, Ron never really took to it. I don't think I don't think I'm talking out of school. I think everybody knows that it was something that he was never really comfortable with, and so I think things had to be altered or changed, or sometimes for him, but he still, obviously there's shots where he was riding. So he's
So
a guy who he's not riding now, but I think most of the guys who were on the show who didn't begin as riders are continued to ride.
so I heard that for example the actor that plays Dick, that he would show up some of the days that he didn't have any scenes, just to hang out with the crew, and they had to tell him at some point, this is not a real motorcycle club. You don't have to come hang out in the clubhouse. Just go home. This is not your day to record a scene. You're just making noise. You're just making noise by rolling in on your bike.
Is that true?
I wouldn't know. I don't know. I mean, when you think about it, I think I've only done. I don't know how many I did, but I think I only did like 11, or I don't know. So most of the show I'm not in, or I wasn't around. Obviously, the times that I was around, the character T.O. was pretty integral to the story, and to Jax, and so I'm grateful for that. I was excited about that. But there's so much that was done when I wasn't around that I don't remember that story.
Do you
It's
do
a
you
good
have
one though.
do you have a lot of feedback from the audience for being the first black character to join Sam Crow in any way?
Yeah, at the time it was pretty big, because obviously, the general public doesn't know why that is never done. I mean, I think it's been done a couple of times, here and there, but it's pretty much not done, especially with one percenters, because you when you're mixing races and dudes are going to jail, and who are you with and all that stuff. So um, it was I think it was important um, for them to do, and to for socially to say, hey, we can move beyond this. Um, and I was glad that it was it was me that they did it with. Yeah, it's kind of cool to be the last guy to be patched in
Yeah.
before at the end of the show. It's
Well,
kind of cool.
it's kind of controversial, I think, in a little way because for a big part of the show, one of the characters is like internally suffering a lot because
Right,
his father is a black guy, right? And then
right,
at the end of the show, you can see how the crew open their minds a lot to the idea, right?
right. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a I mean, and it's a TV show. So um, I think you need to obviously it had a great effect on a lot of people and on TV. I mean, it was pretty popular for quite a long time. So they felt they felt that that was the thing to do.
Yeah, it was a great show, and it got picked up quite a bit, and everybody in LA has seen many of the actors in LA actually riding bikes at the Love Ride, and just go to like
Right.
Neptune's Net or Rockin' or
Rock store.
Rock
Yeah,
Store.
Rockstar.
So
Yeah, yeah.
that's very cool. I mean, it seems like everybody was riding, and it seems like after the show, everybody's still riding. Even
I
Love
think
Ride.
so. Yeah,
Even when I saw you at Love Ride right now, when was it? November, December?
the one that just passed. Yeah, that we rode up to RP's place from Glendale.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there
yeah,
was a lot of
yeah,
people from the show there, which was very cool.
yeah, yeah.
What was
Boone was there, and yeah.
what was your favorite character that you've played in your career?
Yeah, that's I can't really answer that. I mean, there's so many different reasons why I love different characters or different experiences on different jobs, and it's just so I've been fortunate, really. It's been a big variety of jobs of roles, and I have so many different memories from different things that it's hard for me to say.
It's hard to pinpoint. Yeah,
Yeah, it really is.
yeah, it becomes difficult. I mean, you've been doing this
Yeah,
what,
it's like it's
years only?
35 years. Yeah,
That's it.
it's weird. It's like saying if you've had 10 bikes and you go, well, what was your favorite?
Impossible.
And you go, well, dude, it depends.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm driving the Sturgis, it won't be my heritage. It won't be my Dyna. It's gonna be the Ultra.
It's a Sportster, obviously.
Right,
Yeah,
the sports.
yeah, yeah,
Exactly. So it's just it's hard to say.
yeah. It's very difficult. Mike, how old are you?
I'm 56. My birthday's coming up in a few months. 57 coming up. So yeah.
No, and the reason I ask is because you're in amazing shape. Your fitness is outstanding. Have you always worked out? Is it something you've kind of you played football, you worked at Gold's Gym? Has
Right.
exercising and staying fit always been a part of your life? Do you smoke or do you drink? And have you worked
No.
out your whole life?
Right. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I have had drinks, but pretty much I don't. I just
Socially.
like now. Well, no, it's never been like right now I don't drink. I haven't had a drink in years and years. But there was a time where it was a short time in college, and when I say short, I probably mean like a month where I would drink, and then probably 25 years later, I decided I decided because I would always say no, I don't drink, but I was always going to bars and hanging out with friends when I lived in New York. That's one of the things, and it wasn't. I don't have anything against drinking, um, and as far as I know, I don't have a problem with drinking personally. But I would go to bars and hang out, and my friends would drink, and they were cool. They weren't giving me shit about it. But every once in a while, somebody say, hey. So for about 3 months, I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna have a drink. And so I drank for about 3 months, and you know everything was cool. I never really got drunk, and I have a strong constitution. But one day, the last day, this bartender decided he was gonna get me, and so I was drinking Long Island iced teas,
Ooh, that's the
and
worst.
yeah, but they didn't put any Coke in it, so it was all the five
Right.
whatever the
It's
five
the 5
mixtures in
shots
the
with sweet and sour and just
right with no Coke,
right.
no regular
Gin,
Coke,
tequila, rum, and
whatever that mixture
fucking
is.
other
Yeah,
poison. Yeah. So
exactly.
how many did
So
you
I
have of
I
those?
I had five of those, and that got me. And I was going back to my apartment with this girl I was messing around with, and we were fucked. Oh my god. And I got to my apartment, which was only, we were walking. It was only like 5 blocks away. And she she ended up in my bathroom throwing up in the toilet. So there was
Oof.
nowhere for me to go. I have never to that point, even as when I got sick, because I don't get sick that much either. I mean, I can
Right,
go
your
years and
tolerance.
years without getting sick. Right. So I started throwing up in my sink in the kitchen, and it totally new experience for me. It hurt so bad coming up. I couldn't. It was so painful. Uh, and I did it maybe 3 times or whatever. The girl fell asleep literally with her arms around my toilet. So and I was just, oh, it was nasty. So I put her on the bed, and I wash up, and I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm good.
Well,
So,
not only that, but the toll it does on your health, the toll it
oh
does on
yeah,
your
yeah.
fitness, the unnecessary calories, the sugar. I mean, how
But
it
for me,
dehydrates
but for
you.
but for me, that was never. I
an,
mean,
an issue.
if you ask me why I don't drink, I just don't drink. I mean, I don't. I won't say, oh, because of my health, or oh, because I just think that drinking. It has nothing to do with that. I just don't drink.
Yeah, you
I
just
never sat down and came up with reasons. It's like I don't. I haven't eaten meat, and what I mean, I haven't eaten pork or beef since probably 1980.
whoa, yeah,
And
and that's what I want to know about your health and fitness. So no,
right, but before you say what's funny is people go, oh, well, is it because you're religious or is it because your health? And it is none of those. I just stopped, and I think the reason I initially stopped was because a friend of mine. I was still playing football. It was my last my either my junior year or my senior year of high school. And a guy says, I was getting these little palpitations. I don't know what the hell they were. I mean, who knows? Probably nothing. And the guy says, well, eat a lot of beef and potatoes. And I was doing that to, because I was burning calories like crazy. Um, and so he just put that suggestion in my head. And I said, okay, you know what? Let me see what happens. And I stopped right then and there. And I don't even know if consciously I was like, oh yeah, I don't feel those anymore. I just stopped and I never started again. And it has nothing in it. I don't go, oh, I don't eat. Because I know a lot of professionals who swear by beef. They say that's the best kind of protein you can get, And then of course you have other professionals that say no, that's not the best. Everybody has an opinion,
Right. Whatever you
and
want to
there are
look for, whatever Google you search, you're going to find, results for yes or no.
absolutely, and you look at the person, you go, well, this person looks amazing. And then you look at the person that said the opposite of that person, you go, well, he looks amazing too. So it's just, it's you got to do what works for you. Otherwise, you're not gonna achieve it.
So
I
what?
can't act like somebody else.
So what are you eating? What's a typical? You just eat everything else, or what are you having for lunch today? For an example.
Well, today is the now because of the coronavirus thing. I'm kind of falling off because you just start.
Everybody
You
is.
know, yeah. We have no schedule. So, and I'm always at home. So you just kind of go, oh, what's in the kitchen? And I do go to my garage and I have, the side of my house where I work out, so I'm still lifting here and there and, not as regularly as I would be. Like after we finish this, I'm going to go work out. But, but really, when it comes to your health, when it comes to your look, particularly, um, it is what you eat. So you can work out like a monster and you'll get strong and you can put some size on. But in terms of how you shape your body, getting toned and all of that, that is what you eat. You can't tone muscle. You can grow muscle, but you can't tone it. You tone your skin, and that's body fat. So if you want to change your body fat, you have to change your diet. There's no other way to do it. You
So
can.
so most people, well, it depends who you talk to, but if you talk to a nutritionist, they would say 70% nutrition. If you talk to a fitness coach, they're going to tell you 70% working out. You're definitely saying 70% would be nutrition.
Well, yeah. I mean, and I know a lot of super trainers and super, and I'm talking about the Mr. Olympias and all of those. Those are friends of mine, and I think most people will say it's 80% of your diet, including those guys, because they know. Like for instance, if you want to put on size, and we're not forget about drugs and steroids and stuff, but if you want to put on size, you can lift heavy and you can lift a lot, but if you're not eating properly, you're not going to put size on. You have to eat more calories than you burn if you want to put size on. Now, if you just eat, and not work out, you're just going to get fat. But if you eat the right things, the right amount of proteins, carbs, and complex carbs and fats, and you work out, then you'll put on more muscle. But you still, if you're gonna worry about body fat, you still have to, be careful about the things that you put into your body. But whether or not you want to put muscle on and weight on, or you want to take weight off, or you do that through your diet.
Yeah, I gotta agree with that, especially right now. I've been hitting. I have a home gym, weights. I got the full set, and I've been hitting it so fucking hard. I mean, I've been working out at least 3 to 4 days a week. I got a good friend of mine. He's extremely fit, and we do 2 3 hour workouts. And I'm getting bigger, but I'm not getting leaner the way that I want to get leaner.
Yeah, Robert was
Right.
hoping that it was 70% workout, 20%,
Yeah.
30% in food.
Yeah,
And
that
it-
would be nice.
Yeah, and it would be nice, but it's not. It's definitely the biggest struggle that I have, and I don't eat bad. It's just the amount of food that I have access to, and the amount of people cooking and bringing food over, especially during quarantine right now. It's insane. There's
Yeah,
food
bro,
in front of me
that's
all the
tough.
time.
That's right.
One
That's
of
right.
one of my
And the fact that you can't go out makes it worse. That makes it worse.
It
you know?
even makes it much worse. Yeah, one of my favorite memes that I saw online was somebody opening up the refrigerator and they wrote a note saying, "Close the door. You're bored. You're not hungry."
That's exactly right.
That's exactly what's
there
happening.
are other reasons. Yeah, that's what happens.
Now,
Well, I would have a suggestion for you, bro. And if you're working out with your fitness pal and everything, if you're working out 3 hours, you're working out too much, man. Take it back, cut it back. Like there's no reason to work out for more than 90 minutes, man. Because
but we've been cutting. We've been cutting. It's weird. It's like the thing is, I was listening to this guy talking about working out, and
Yeah.
they were kind of encouraging more breaks in between. Like you shouldn't try to max out every time. You should take breaks, recover, then do another set, then kind of recover, then another set.
Well, that's if you're trying to. That's only if you're trying to increase the amount of weight you lift, and like power lifters do that all the time. They're not trying to burn fat at all.
Right.
They're trying to lift as much weight as possible. So they'll sit there, they'll put on whatever they can put on, they'll lift it, and then they'll totally recover, and then they'll go do it again.
Yeah.
And so that's a power lifter kind of thing. But
That's
if you want
probably the issue.
if you want to bodybuild, if you want a body shape, then you don't want to totally recover. Obviously you need to take a break, but as soon as you take as small as break as possible to be safe, and then you go right back at it. Of course, your weight is not as heavy as well.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah, because right now,
but that is how you burn.
That's how you burn.
Yeah.
Yeah, because right now, well, the whole fitness thing, I don't know if anybody wants to hear it, but like a chest day, we'll like build up a 45, we'll add a 25, and then I'll add 2 plates and do 10 sets of 10 of just 2 plates.
So you go up.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and then on the last 10, we'll take off the extra 45, and I'll just leave 1 plate, on each side, and then I'll do a 30 burnout. I'll do 30, 30 sets, 30 reps.
30 reps.
Yeah,
right.
just to burn out the chest, and that's just
well,
the
bro.
chest.
If you can do 10 sets of 10 at 225, that's pretty good. I can't do that right now.
Yeah,
no way.
No, that's definitely not that right now.
And then shots and barbecue.
What's that?
And then shots and barbecue.
Yeah, and then afterwards, we typically grab some ice, some chivas. We have 1 drink, and then we barbecue. And it'll be carne asada, some chorizo
to fix the damage,
some fish, just to recover. That's how we do
it. Right.
Quick question, Mike. You were on Aquaman, and not only on Aquaman, but on many of your films. How much training did it cost you a lot of trouble to get fit for Aquaman, or were you just ready? And how did you get that role? And what was that process?
Well, when you do a superhero movie, basically, the studios always, they say, "Oh, go get they either have a particular trainer. I think if you're one of the stars, they set all that up. But in my case, they said, we want everybody in shape. Find a trainer. We'll pay for it. Up to a certain amount, and the amount is ridiculous because the guys they're paying are like super top notch guys. And I had never paid a trainer before. I've never used a trainer. I would work out with trainers over the years, but I've never paid a guy. So I said, well, since they're paying for it, I'll go find one of my friends and I'll say, dude, how would you like to make some money for the next? I think I trained for about 6 to 8 weeks before I left for Australia, and I told him, I said, well, how much you want to charge? It's on them. So we worked it out, and I went to find a guy that I know who works differently than I do, because why pay a guy that works the same way? Maybe I'll learn some more stuff if I go to a guy who I wouldn't normally work out with. And I think that was a great move on my part, because he showed me things that I hadn't done that I've been incorporating in my workouts at home and even when I go to the gym ever since. And I'm really grateful to him. And he just, it's just like having a different approach. You know what I mean? And it's always cool when you meet somebody that can really open up your eyes with something that you've been doing for so long,
But what can you explain the approach? What was so, like, was it, burpees, assault bike, kettlebells? Like, what was so different?
Right. Well, he was much more like, I'm a weight dude. I go in, I know about weights and dumbbells and stuff like that, and all
Gold's
the machines.
Gym, Venice.
Gold's Gym, right? Exactly. This guy, and his name is Rob Thompson. Rob Thompson. He's a great guy. Get Fit by Rob, and he works with a lot of. He actually works with a lot of. What are they called? Women that are in the beauty pageant arena, whatever that is. So he works with a lot of beautiful women, and so he incorporates a lot of stuff you're talking about. A lot of HIIT cardio. Yeah, exactly. A lot of HIIT cardio. He does battle rope stuff. He does the half Bosu ball. He does, a lot of the hammer. Where you have the rubber hammer, the tire iron. Yeah, all of that stuff.
The clubs, yeah.
Absolutely. So even though I knew about this stuff and I had done it, here and there, it wasn't something that I did a lot of. I did the traditional lift, and then you go walk on the Stairmaster, or I do sprints on the treadmill, stuff like that. But he would do slam ball stuff and stuff that I love. So I went out and I bought, kettlebells, all the stuff you mentioned. So I have tons of kettlebells and slam balls and Bosu balls and battle ropes and stuff like that. And that's the kind of stuff that really started to get me cut, started to shred me at an advanced age, in terms of picking up some new stuff. I was, 54, 55, doing a lot of things for the first time on a regular basis. And it was very effective. He also helped put me on a diet, and I lost tons of weight. I got so lean, man. I had like a 29 and a half inch waist.
Wow.
And I was very lean. It was weird because when I ended up doing a show right after that, and because I kept going. So for 3 years, I was just fucking a maniac.
A show after Aquaman, or?
Yeah, it was a TV show I did after Aquaman. And I started on Aquaman, so I was in pretty good shape in Aquaman, although you never notice it because of my wardrobe, what I was wearing. You never see me out of it. But after that, I kept going. I was going, and I went down to like 160 pounds.
Wow.
And yeah, and now
what's your average weight, or what's been your
my average rate is probably around 180, 185.
That's still good.
And yeah.
That's
but
strong.
now bro, now I'm 200 pounds.
Now doesn't count, Mike. Now
Yeah.
doesn't count. Everybody's 200 pounds. Everybody.
Yeah.
My 14-month-old is 200 pounds. Everybody's eating.
Exactly.
There.
It's hard.
I guarantee you, all the posts from influencers and pictures of social media are just at the bare minimum right now.
Right.
Nobody's posting.
Yeah, they were from 2 or 3 months ago, all
Yeah.
of them.
Right. They're using old stuff.
But yeah, from 160 to 200, that's a big difference.
I think when I started, I was
When you started what?
when I started really on that journey working out, I actually started before I met with Rob for Aquaman. So I had been working out because I got up to like 215, something like that. Now I'm 5'8", right? With my shoes on, So I got up to about 215, and I was just like, I had it with myself. So probably a month before Aquaman came along, I had been working out, and so I was doing pretty good. And then when I met with Rob, from that point on, probably took me about, to be honest, because I hate trying to go like super fad, like, oh, I'm gonna do this fad thing where I starve myself. I can't do that stuff. So it took me about 7 or 8 months to go from 215 to 160.
That's amazing.
Which, yeah, but I did it. I think I did it smartly, and but I know that I can never, like, 160 is just too light for
It's
me.
unsustainable, yeah.
Yeah, it's unsustainable. And what I was saying earlier, when I did this TV show, and they had me in suits, and my body wise, I looked pretty good in the suits, but my face it just looked too gaunt, and especially for a guy in his mid 50s at the time, it was just like, it was too, it just looked, I didn't think it looked healthy.
Yeah, sometimes you
So,
see people that that they've been doing it a little bit quicker than you should naturally do it.
yeah,
And they do
yeah.
look like they've been doing hardcore drugs for the last,
But for
3
me,
years.
it wasn't because I did it too quickly. I just don't think, we all have, natural weights for ourselves, and I just think that is not a good look for me, to be so lean, especially like as a bodybuilder. Not in any way comparing myself to a bodybuilder, but as a bodybuilder, when you're competing, that's the look. And of course they go leaner than I went, and they have much more muscle than I had. But when you're an actor, that is something that I don't, that's, especially if you were 20 or 30, maybe that's kind of cool, but not for a guy who was my age. I didn't think that looked good.
Well, it also depends too, because I think what they say, and when I say they, fitness researchers, everything, when you lose an extreme amount of weight, you have to sustain that for about 2 years for your body to kind of accept that form. Because in the meantime,
Right.
your body's like, this is something weird, something's off. Let's not pay attention
Yeah.
to this weight loss. He's just
Yeah.
starving or something.
Well, dude, I had it for about 3 years.
Yeah.
I was between 166 and 160 for about 3 years.
Really?
And I
That's
had done it
impressive.
before. I had done it before. I've been 159 a bunch of years ago. It wasn't new to me. It was just that it's different when you do that in your 20s or your 30s. And now in your 50s, it's just different. You know what I mean? And you're right. I mean, it's not sustainable, period, no matter what age, but unless, I'm not, my bread and butter, my life is not fitness. It's not how I support myself. It's not, It's important to me personally, but it's not something that helps me. For instance, I don't make my money because of my body. You can't find movies where my shirt's off maybe a couple of times, but in general, I wasn't hired because, of the way I looked, so it wasn't something I have to worry about. I don't have to look a certain way in order to keep working, you know. My problem was just that I thought I looked a little too. I was like, yeah, the dude looks looks almost like a ghost, which is what bodybuilders look like when they're in competing season, but then they go off it, when they're not, because they're trying to put on more muscle, so they put more fat back into their bodies in order to gain more muscle, and then of course they shred again when it's the season.
No, it makes complete sense. I think for your age, I think you're in great shape. Other than this
Thank you, bro.
coronavirus that everything's out of. But
Right.
when I saw you a few months back, and seeing how old you were, I was like, no, I don't even believe it. You completely can pass and have the body and the characteristics of, a 40-year-old. And as a matter of fact, you're probably healthier than most average 40-year-olds anyways. Because there's a lot of people out of shape. I mean, depending where we're talking and what cities and stuff, but
Right.
The average American is not as fit as you are, and keep it up.
Thank you, bro. Thank you.
So I have a question, Michael. Did you get to ride at all with Jason Momoa?
We talked about it, but I've never ridden with him. I met Jason. I did a show called what was that show called? It's called oh man, it was a sci-fi show that we shot up in Canada, in Vancouver, and they had a bunch of different Stargate. That's what it was called. So they had Stargate something else, and Stargate Atlantis was the third spinoff. And so he was a regular on that, and I came up and I think I did about 7 or 8 episodes, and that's when I first met him. Well, supposedly I met him in New York when I was doing a show called Third Watch back in 2000, but I don't remember that. He wasn't acting then. But where I remember him from was Stargate in the late 2000s, maybe. I can't remember exactly what year that was. But we would hang out, man. And the guy, he was a good kid, he was big and loud and liked to drink and have fun and just sweet to people, very warm, open guy. So even though I didn't have much to do with him on that series, we actually hung out a lot off camera. We went to dinner and stuff and hung out a lot. So I first met him there, and we talked about, I know he has a lot of old bikes. Yep. He likes old bikes.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, and I think he was messing around. I don't know if he was messing around with the
Super 73.
73. I don't know but when we were in Australia, we went out to eat one day, and he and his assistant rode up on what may have been Super 73s or a version of it. And he was telling me all about it. And he's like, I'm thinking about maybe investing in this, and I obviously have no idea if he did or if that was a different company, but it was pretty much the same exact type of bike that the Super 73s are. And he loved it. And he would take it on the beach.
How big is he? How tall is he? And what would you guess his weight is? And the bike handling him, that's crazy. How big is he?
He's about 6'6". He's definitely, I mean, he might be 6'5", but he's definitely not 6'4", not even close. And he's not 6'8" or anything. I would say he's 6'6". And he's, when he's not working out, which is a lot because he's not really I don't think he's really into working out. I mean, he does it when he has to,
He gets big,
but he's
right?
not. He's not a very big dude. He's kind of slender.
Oh, really?
Really?
I mean, don't get me wrong. He's not.
No, I know what you're
slender.
saying.
He's slender in comparison to what his Aquaman looks like.
Right, what he portrays.
You know what I mean? Right. So I would say like he probably walks around, and this is a total guess, but about 230.
You described that pretty well.
Yeah, I would think so. Maybe a little bit more. But when he's Aquaman, I would guess he was 250, 255, somewhere around there. But this is just totally guessing. He probably might be a little more than that. There's the guy that he used to train with a lot, Mata, who was on Aquaman, who I actually have worked out with a few times while we were there, and since then, he's a big boy. Mata's about 6'8", and he can walk around at 300 easy.
Wow.
And he was the guy that was really training Jason. And he's a beast. He's a complete beast. So
isn't it?
I don't know. I think
isn't it amazing that there's always someone bigger? There's always someone bigger and stronger, and always. It never ends.
Absolutely. I mean, I think about Jason. I would probably up his weight to, 260 sounds too big, but I wouldn't be surprised. But that's probably, he's probably between 250 and 260 when he's Aquaman.
I mean, once you're that tall, it's just hard to not pass the 230 line.
Well, yeah, but it's how tight and lean you look that makes you look better.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You can be, you're just going to look much more muscular and much more dangerous if you have abs, if your shoulders are chipped away, as opposed to a guy who would be bigger and stronger, but he's carrying more body fat. The other guy that has that kind of size but is not carrying that body fat is just going to look way better.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's interesting.
Yeah, we have a couple of friends in common, and they, right now he's like basically the image of Harley Davidson. He just, even right now, Harley Davidson made a video of, having in mind the coronavirus, and we are all recluded in our houses. I don't know if you've seen it. It's a video of 4 or 5 guys riding in the beach with old bikes, and he is the voiceover of the video.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not riding.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
He's not riding in one because they're actually racers. One of them is Roland Sands, which we would love to have in one of the episodes also. But yeah, Jason is the voiceover of this video, and I have a couple of friends in common with him, and they offer him a couple of bikes, and he's always said, no, just send me a Panhead or something like that I can kickstart. Right. And I was like, yeah, that guy 6'6", height and 240 pounds or 50 pounds, kickstarts a bike like if he was just stepping in a, stepping.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, he has an aversion to like the new fancy bikes. I think he has quite a few bikes, and none of them, his bikes are all from the, 50s and 40s and 60s, and if he has a bike that was built after 2000, I would be shocked.
So he's never, from what we know or from your knowledge, he's never been on a street glide, an ultra, a road glide, or.
Well, I think there's a couple of.
I don't know if he's ever been on them, but he doesn't own them.
There's a couple of pictures I think of him in a lowrider S, I think. On a new lowrider S, and it looks like the lowrider S is like a bicycle from a kid. Yeah,
it looks like a Super 73.
Yeah, it looks.
Yeah, exactly. When you're 6'6", man, I mean
everything.
They have to build them to scale.
It's crazy, yeah. Because I'm like, if I'm on an ultra, if a guy in it, and I can touch my feet, and the guy is 6'6", on an ultra. Like, whoo, my goodness, that's crazy.
Isn't it interesting? I mean, you and me we're exactly the same height. Isn't it interesting how well we fit, like on a street glide, or how comfortable touring bike feels? And I mean, it's crossed my mind many times where I'm thinking, fuck, anybody like that's 6 foot or 6'5" riding an ultra, like their heads are popping out, like they're huge for the bikes.
Right, exactly.
Hasn't that crossed your mind?
Yeah, I find it funny because you're talking about a 900 plus pound bike. So it's you can feel the weight, but it's not that, it's the height. You just go, when you're so tall, I do wonder that. I go, how do you fit? How do you enjoy the ride? Your legs, obviously you can have some pegs out, but still,
right. But
you just go.
Yeah, but just to describe it, like you and me can jump on, an ultra and okay, maybe a slimmer seat, but other
Right.
than that, the knee bent when your feet are on the floorboard seem perfect. The
Right.
wind is hitting well, if you're on the street glide, the wind hits like the top of your helmet, which is perfect because if your head's
Right.
a little bit taller, it's gonna, start blowing your head around and making your helmet wiggle. And
Right.
and then I start thinking, if I'm 5 inches taller, or if I'm a foot taller, like how is this comfortable?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I
I got to get some
If
tall
it feels,
riders and ask them.
yeah, exactly. Ask them.
I got anybody over 6'4", call us, Ride Boundless.
I used to ride with a guy. I can't remember his name. He rode with us a few times, and he had a Sportster, and it was a 1200, and he obviously he was a wrench, so he tuned that bad boy up, but he was about 6'3", and he was on this Sportster, and he obviously when he put his legs up, it his knees were almost at the at the bar where where your hands are, right?
Yeah, I'm passing his shoulders.
He loved that bike, and he could afford to get a different one, but he rode it, and it was fast as hell, and he just looked so odd to me being on that bike, but he was comfortable and he loved it, and I was like, wow, that would be so weird for me.
Yeah. Michael, do you have any other projects coming up? Any light at the end of this tunnel of coronavirus?
Yeah, well, when all of this hit, I was actually doing 2 films and finishing up on a TV show. I had actually just finished one, the season episode of SWAT. No, not SWAT. I'm sorry, SEAL Team. I do SWAT too, but so I had just done 3 episodes of SEAL Team, and the one I just finished I don't think they're going to use it for this season because they weren't able to finish it. So they may put it on to next season, which is weird. I don't know how they do that because it was literally designed as the last episode of the storyline. Anyway, I was doing a TV show that I never got to shoot, so we don't know when I'll be able to do that. And I was supposed to go to Puerto Rico to do this Bruce Willis film, and haven't done that. They were in the middle of production. I was going to go to work on it for a week, and we hadn't got there, so I don't know what's happening with that when we're over. And I was also doing a film, oddly enough, and I've never said this out loud, but I was doing a film with Idris Elba, and I think it was March 12 when I was in New Mexico, and we were rehearsing, and then I went home that night, came back to LA. I was in New Mexico, came back that night because I had to do a fitting for the TV show I was going to do. And then I was planning on flying back on Sunday to shoot Monday. That was going to be the first day of production. And then, of course, Friday, the 13th, it just got tested. And then Monday, and everything shut down. I think Friday the 13th, I think most of Hollywood, Friday, March 13th, most of Hollywood started shutting down.
Yeah.
And then we heard
And
Monday.
and I think it was a full moon.
Right.
It was
Exactly.
Friday the 13th. It was a full moon, and everything was getting shut down.
All that stuff started happening. And so Monday, we found out that he tested positive,
Yeah.
to let everybody know. And I had been home with my family for 3 days, I think, and didn't know, so I wasn't worried. And of course, from that point on, I isolated myself in my office and called my doctor, and then the New Mexico authorities called me. There was all this stuff about me getting tested and how did I feel and all this stuff. And I felt good. I had no problem, but I isolated myself anyway, even though, I'd already, been around my family for 3 days. Finally, it was very hard to get tests then. I don't know how it is now. I'm sure it's better, but it was really hard then. After about 6 or so days later, they called me and they were okay. We could set you up a test if you go to, blah blah blah. You go to this address, da da da, and just let us know before you get there, because we have to come out. We have instructions for you to enter. In case I'm positive. But it was probably 9 days later from the time getting back from New Mexico, and I didn't have one symptom. I felt great. I felt the same. So I talked to my doctor and I was like, listen, it was so hard to get tests. I was like, should I really be tested? I mean, isn't it kind of a waste? It's been about 9-10 days. I feel great. And I don't want to take a test from somebody that may need it, since they were so hard to get. And so he talked to the CDC guy here in LA, and the guy said, well, if you don't have any symptoms, if you feel fine, just isolate for another few days. And if things change, let us know. And so I did, and nothing changed. And so I came out of my office and I was hanging around with my family again, and I never took the test. So I have no idea if I have the antibodies in me or not.
Well, if you do, the whole family does too. And that would be good. That's a plus for everybody.
Absolutely. But, they find like 80% of people that, have it, overcome it, by themselves. That's one of the statistics that's been thrown around. So I obviously don't know if that's accurate, but that's what I've been hearing.
Yeah. Well, I really hope it comes to an end, and a quick end, and I hope everybody can get back to their life, because this has been very difficult on all the emergency services, on all the small business owners, on the actors.
Right.
It's literally put a stop to the world. But Mike, we're at 1 hour and 27 minutes, which I think is amazing. It didn't even feel like that. Where can people find you? Where can we find you on social media? What's your Instagram handle, Twitter?
Great. My Instagram is just Michael Beach, and my last name is Beach. So it's just at Michael Beach, and I got the blue check and everything. My Twitter is there was already a guy, Michael Beach, on, because I came in late.
Bastard. Give it up, man. Give it up.
And he's using it. Yeah. So my Twitter is Mike A. Beach, because my middle name is Anthony.
Yeah.
So Mike A. Beach is me on Twitter. I'm not a huge Twitter guy, but I really dig Instagram. And my wife made me sign up she's into TikTok. I signed up on TikTok, but I've never been on it. Never been on it, but
So you
What,
guys-
that.
what's your handle on TikTok? I know you
Well,
haven't used it, but we're gonna look for you.
No, it's Mike A Beach because Michael Beach was taken
Those
in
bastards.
TikTok too, but you'll
Somebody-
never see me on it.
Somebody's dancing with your name.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, some guy, who was
Or some girl,
much
or
more on top of it,
trying-
or somebody. Yeah,
Yeah, we don't
somebody,
know.
somebody.
we
But
can't assume.
there are a couple of accounts out there. I don't know if they die away, but every once in a while somebody hits me and says, "Oh, there's a guy with the real Mike Beach, and he's posting all your pictures and your videos, and he claims to be you." And so that happens, but
Well, his face.
all of my things,
his
my
fa-
things are. I have a blue check, so.
His face is not in the movies, so.
But he's using my
Yeah, but-
face. He's
I
taking
know.
pictures from my page and acting as if they're not him. There's quite a few out there from time to time. So, just watch out.
Just watch out. Well, Michael, thank
Yeah.
you so much for your time. Thank you for the experience, the storytelling, and everything else. I hope we get to get you back on. And until then,
Yeah, my pleasure, bro. Yeah, I had a good time. Thanks for asking.
absolutely. Until then, as soon as this is over, we'll make sure to go for a ride finally.
Absolutely, for sure, man. My wife went out yesterday, and she said she saw all these bikers out, man. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to get out there.
We'll be doing it soon, Michael.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you, man.
My pleasure.
All
Take
right,
care,
brother.
guys.
Take care. And that's it for this episode. Thank you so very much for listening. If you liked it, please make sure to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, on everywhere. Wherever you're listening to this, there's a subscribe button. Please click on it. It helps the podcast. It helps the guest. It helps all of us. And make sure to follow us on Instagram at Ride Boundless to see amazing pictures and contents and videos of the people we are speaking to. Until then, see you next week. Ride safe, ride hard, ride boundless.